This is Cruise Radio.
Cruise Radio is brought to you in part by tripinsurance.com. Travel insurance done right by the people who know travel insurance. Get a quote today at tripinsurance.com.
Here we go.
Broadcasting from the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. This is Cruise Radio.
Daniel just returned from a 4-night cruise on Carnival Venezia. It sailed from New York City down to Bermuda for 4 days. He joins us on the line to talk all about it and his first Carnival cruise, too. Hey, Daniel.
Hey, Doug. Always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, give me some pre-cruise thoughts. You live in Manhattan. What made you want to take this 4-nighter on Carnival Venezia?
Well, I've never been on Carnival. I've heard a lot of reviews on your amazing podcast, and our buddy Tommy is a big Carnival fan. I was like, it's a 4-nighter, really close to my home. Just try it. Why not?
Okay. Fair enough. That's all it takes sometimes. And so out of Pier 88 there in Manhattan. So you make your way from the house to the cruise terminal. Sometimes it can be hit or miss as far as embarkation at Pier 88. I'm sure you've experienced it before with like NCL or whoever you've cruised out of there. How was it this time? Because lately I've heard that they're actually getting better and quicker with embarkation.
It was pretty good. It was quite crowded. I did the Fast and the Fun, and they were totally reasonable and good, and there was not a problem. I would say that the cruise terminal is a little... it's old school. It is what it is, whether it's Norwegian or Carnival. It's just sort of rusty a little bit, but it was efficient.
You made your way on board Carnival Venezia. What were the first impressions of your first Carnival cruise?
It's very Venetian. I guess that's the theme. Italian. You board and you're in their sort of palazzo. I think it sort of mixes themes and stuff, but it's not dissimilar from what I would consider the promenade on Royal and stuff. Mm-hmm. It was very nice. Lots of sort of Murano glass type of things. You see where everything is, the stores and that type of thing. I wasn't that blown away with it.
You make your way to your stateroom. What kind of stateroom did you book for this 4-night cruise, and what did you think of it?
I got a room all the way in the aft that was pretty amazing in some senses. It was part of what they call the terrazza. Carnival cruise ships do not have the ship within a ship or concierge level. Instead, they have sort of that, which is just a bunch of aft staterooms that are gorgeous in terms of the balcony, but weirdly shaped in terms of the room. Mm-hmm. So I would say that my stateroom was maybe a third of the stern in terms of the balcony. The room itself, which was glorious, like amazing. The room itself was cramped in some spaces and more lenient in other spaces. It was hard to get around the bed because it was sort of every time I walked around the bed to go to the bathroom, it would be very hard for me to do that without lifting my legs up and walking there.
What deck was this on?
8, just above the terrazza, but we are always part of the terrazza. It was 84. Mm-hmm. It was the most beautiful balcony I've ever had. It was extraordinary, but the room itself was weird to sort of navigate. It didn't make sense to my eyes, nor I'm 6'3", my legs or feet. The star of the show was certainly the outdoors.
Did you spend much time on the terrazza deck or the lounge back there?
I did. You can. It's available only for terrazza guests during breakfast, and then till I think like happy hour. And I might have this wrong. Actually, no. You have it during breakfast, and then there's sort of an outdoors area that has 2 hot tubs and lots of nice seating during the day. But after 5 p.m., it's open to everyone.
Was there a special breakfast in there? I know if you're in an ocean suite or terrazza on Carnival Firenze, so on the West Coast, they have like a kind of a special breakfast.
Just for terrazza guests, there were special breakfasts, especially on the debarkation day, but that was only for terrazza guests.
Back to your room just for a moment here. Was it pretty modernized as far as plugs and, to charge the phone by the bed or what have you?
It was. There was a USB-C, USB-A by the bed. Was it modernized? Yeah, it was. There were 2 USB-Cs and 2 USB-As, and that was it.
Let's talk about the dining on board Carnival Venezia, and we'll start at the buffet area, the Lido Marketplace. What did you think of the food in there, and did it ever feel like it was too crowded?
It was incredibly crowded. It was okay. It wasn't great. It was incredibly crowded, and I think that it comes back to the vibe of the ship on a 4-day carnival out of New York, is that it was people were, they wanted what they wanted when they wanted it, which I get. It's their cruise and their vacation. I loved the grab and go as opposed to that experience.
Yeah, I was going to say, you do have some options out by the pool as well, like the Guy's Burger joint, and I think they call it the Tomadero, maybe. It is the Blue Iguana Cantina, but their Italian name for it, I guess.
Guy's was great. Tex-Mex place was amazing. Pizza was great. I had like 2 burritos that were out of this world. Like really, really fresh. The one thing I give this cruise ship, this experience, and the cruise honey is that the grab and go and the people who served it, it's like totally fresh, amazing, credible lunches on the go. They were awesome.
The main dining room, just from you being on the show so much, I know that you're not really big on it. Did you dine in there at all this cruise?
I did look in. It looked beautiful. I saw the gondola and stuff, and it looked beautiful, but it was such a short trip that I was more into specialty.
Fair enough. Talk to us about some of them specialty restaurants and maybe a highlight from each one.
First night I did teppanyaki. I've done a bunch of reviews with you, but it was the best teppanyaki I've had in my life. Like including New York City, including everything I've done. It was extraordinary. It was great. And I was with the cruise director, whose name is Mike. Actually, he told me to write his name down. Mike Daria and his family and me at one of the tables. And it was just great fun to be with the cruise director at the table. And the food was sensational. The jokes are similar, but for some reason in this case, they were elevated. And the food was wonderful. And it was great to pick his brain about being a cruise director, and his mom was there, and his fiance was there, and it was just really a lot of fun. It was very familial and very cool. So the teppanyaki experience on night number 1, combination of food and company, was top notch.
Is the teppanyaki something you have to book in advance on Carnival Venezia, or can you wait until you get on board?
That's a good question. Because I was a single guy on the trip, I could only book on the Carnival website for 2 people. So I had to book it on the ship.
Night 1 sounds awesome. How was your next dining, and where did you go?
The steak place called Fahrenheit. And that was not very good. I ordered a filet au poivre medium rare. It just came out very sort of hot on top and raw in the middle. And I was disappointed. Salad was good, but that was about it. It wasn't, it was way below sort of chops or something like that. It was sort of just disappointing.
Did you stick around for dessert?
I did. And the dessert was actually quite good because they had like a lemon cheesecake that was delicious. They knew I didn't finish my steak. They were disappointed. I was disappointed. So they were like, do you want to take it up to your room? I was going to go see a comedian. They was like, yeah. But I love the cheesecake. I didn't care for the filet.
Did you hit up the Italian place on there?
Oh, I did, and I loved it. That was really good. Il Viaggio?
That's it.
Viaggio? That was extraordinary. Service great. Pasta extraordinary. olive oil, everything from olive oil, the limoncello at the end and stuff like that. I loved that meal. It was the best Italian I've had at sea, but to date, that was wonderful. That was really good. I had rigatoni bolognese. I had there were little crudos to start, raw fish. I had, being a single guy, I had a beautiful view of the sea, and it was amazing. It was like really fresh pasta. It was al dente. It was my favorite meal.
So that was 3 on a 4-night cruise. What did you do for the last experience?
I went back to hibachi, to teppanyaki.
Yeah, they give you a lot of food there. It's one of those places where if you have too late of a meal scheduled, like after 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, you're pretty much going straight to your room and skipping the show.
I actually asked for it to take it back to my stateroom.
Okay, there you go.
And they were like, fine. And I'm used to traveling for business where you bring, leftovers home, and there's a way to microwave it or something. Mm-hmm. But I swear my life, I had it the next day for sort of for breakfast or a brunch, and it tasted delicious. Carnival 4-day cruises are a different creature than any other thing I've experienced.
I'm curious, when you say different creature, why do you explain it that way? Like, what makes it stick out to you?
I think it's a combo. Mm-hmm. I think the crowd was hell-bent from the beginning on having fun, for no better words. The crowd, in my mind, it was everything all at once. Okay. I was in a place where, like, my sweet spot was on my terrace, on my balcony, just hanging out. Mm-hmm. And when I would go to the pool, the hot tubs were crowded. The pools were not, because it was cold and it was salt water, and a lot of people didn't want to go in there, and I would go in and pop out and do my own thing. It was sort of like hell or high water, I'm going to get drunk every hour of every moment of this cruise. It was intense. Now, I'm not going to be judgmental, because I think that the great majority of people I met were really sweet, happy, fun. Like, I didn't see any, shenanigans or fights or things like that. Then again, I went to bed rather early. And the comedians were quite good.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you caught any shows on this sailing.
I did. There were no Broadway shows, style shows, but there were 2 comedians who were awesome. They were this guy named Bud Anderson, I think. Yeah, he was great. I saw him twice. He actually was one of the few cruise ship comedians who spoke or, riffed almost exclusively about being on a cruise ship. Really, really well. He made fun of us and himself at the same time, and he was terrific. So Bud Anderson was awesome. Tommy Jake was okay. Bud Anderson was the headliner in the big theater and was really, really funny about being on a cruise ship. The extraordinary, bizarre, lucky, unlucky experience of being on a cruise ship, both as being an employee and us being in the audience. He was terrific. So that was a highlight.
How about music around the ship? Like on a Royal Caribbean ship, I tend to go to the schooner bar, like Norwegian, go to the atrium there for a duo or a nice, evening band. Anything like that for you?
Yeah, there were a couple of guys who just were doing covers, all about the ship, who were proficient, really good. There was one guy in the piano bar I went up to before dinner. He was from Eastern Europe, and he was like like a Mozart on the piano. And he said that he could essentially get into any vibe, he said, if you just tell him the song. And I said, can you do Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run? And he had never heard of Bruce Springsteen or Born to Run. I had it on my phone, and I gave it to him, and he closed his eyes and started nodding and nodding. And then he just started playing the entire song.
Oh, that's awesome.
And to the point where everyone in the bar was like, oh, what? What is happening here? It was amazing. It's like Carnival excels at that, I think.
Yeah, they definitely have the entertainment nailed down. And gosh, what a talent, right? To be able to listen to that and be able to just like rock out with it after hearing it. Unreal.
I was shocked. I just put my hands in the air and was like, white flag, you win. It was awesome.
How about the casino as far as the smoke situation in or around it?
Very smoky in my mind. It was very smoky. I placed one bet and left, but I was in the quote unquote not smoking section, I guess, but it was pretty smoky.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Go ahead.
I am sensitive to it, but it was, I was there for maybe 15 minutes, but I sort of felt it in my chest and like in my hair and stuff the day after.
How about the sea days as far as crowds and congestion?
Incredibly crowded. It was, it's a busy ship. There were children taking over the hot tubs, and there was, 3 deep at the bars and stuff. I think it's the urgency that it's like, oh my God, it's a 4-day cruise. We just want to drink as much as possible to get everything in. And I get it. It is what it is. But it was, sea days were, the only beneficence was people didn't like to go into the pool because it was cold, that the pools were pretty much empty, but the hot tubs were overcrowded with children, and to the point where there was a lot of conflict around that.
That checks out. A totally different audience than you would have like on a 7 or 8 night cruise out of New York City there. So you went to Bermuda. Last time we talked about your Bermuda trip, you booked a day resort there. What did you do this time?
This go around I did, which was great. I did a glass bottom boat cruise through Carnival. I went to a place called Bonefish, which is right on the harbor where you can get the cruise. And I had like 25, 30 minutes to get on the excursion, which was the glass bottom cruise. And I went to this place called Bonefish. It was early-ish. It was like 12 o'clock, maybe 12:30. And the cruise is 1 p.m. And I was running a little late. I was starving. And went to Bonefish. It's right on the harbor. It's in that complex sort of where, what is it, Onion and the Frog is. But I asked for like tuna tartare. I had probably, and I'm a New Yorker, like the best tuna tartare of my life. Served up. It was so fresh and good. And then like ran catty corner, around the pier, like jumped to my boat and had the best time with, all sorts of people from the cruise ship and maybe some tourists and stuff, looking at the reefs around Bermuda. That to me was a highlight. It was so cool. But the quality of that tuna tartare was high end, really high end, like really, really high end. And I was just so satisfied eating fish and viewing fish with friendly strangers from my cruise ship. It was so cool.
Pretty good day in Bermuda there. So you get back on the ship. How was your evening?
I almost bought a previously owned Rolex, but I didn't. Aside from that, the weather was really bad. Like I don't have your sea legs, but I have my own. I had to wear like sea patches, seasickness patches. It was really bad. It was roiling and stuff, only for like the first 3 or 4 hours, since I would say between maybe 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. that was sort of it. It's just a different energy on these Carnival ships that I had to become accustomed to. That the last day, if it's a 4-day cruise on a Carnival ship, the last day is the Wild West.
Get all that booze in before you get off.
Exactly. So it was sort of like people were just doing what they're doing. And at that point, I was sort of into the energy of it and sort of was like, this is what it is. It's good. It's fine. I will tell you that the first day, I guess the second day, the treadmills in the gym, totally, you couldn't get on. You had to wait 30, 40 minutes. The second day, there was no one there. The third day, there was no one there. The fourth day, there was no one there. It's just funny, the attrition rate of the gyms on cruise ships. It's extraordinary.
Now, I know you like to head up to the spa on cruises. Any treatments on this one?
I did. The spa treatments were great. I got a shave, I got a pedicure, and I got a facial.
Nice.
The three of them were sensational. And they were, relative to New York costs, incredibly inexpensive. I had great conversations along the way. And I made sort of temporary friendships, and my body feels and looks better for really, really very low cost. I recommend it.
The only problem with this spa that I have is that Elemis upsell at the end.
I know, but I told them in the beginning that I'm not going to buy any more products. I made that very clear.
That's a smart hack. Yeah. Tell them that going in.
I said, I have all the products at home. I need nothing more than this treatment, and that's all. And I just said, thank you. And sort of wink, wink, and there'll be gratuity along the line. And they got it. And I was never bothered afterwards. So I don't have to worry about it.
This ship was designed for the Chinese market, so it's built a little differently compared to other Carnival ships. For instance, there's more of a focus on the shade on this ship, especially by the pool. You have a lot more shaded areas than you would on a regular Vista-class ship. I'm curious your thoughts of that.
Oh, I really like that. It's a cool, different, it's an elite, or it's a sort of comprehensive Lido world that's different. I really liked it, actually. Because a lot of things to do, like I would have coffee, then could swim, and then could go and have a drink if I wanted to. It was interesting. It was very well done. It was actually very nicely done. I liked that a lot. It was, a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
Because it was 4 days, I couldn't really go all the way with that stuff, but it's nice looking, and there's a lot to do.
These class of ships also I realize they come from Costa Cruises and were built for the Chinese market. It's supposed to be a destination like going to Venice in China or going to Florence for Firenze. But it almost feels like Carnival has come full circle with this ship and the other one because it's very Vegas, right? Like the Venetian. You go to the Venetian in Vegas, you kind of have nods to Venice. Or if you go to the Luxor, you kind of have nods to Egypt. This one kind of feels the same.
Yeah. I mean, there are some. I've visited Italy and I visited Venice. I feel like the themes are Shaquille O'Neal, drink as much as you can, and Venice. If the three can coexist, awesome.
Yeah.
Why not? It's unique. It really is. And will I go back on a Carnival ship? I don't know. I'm very happy I did it. The energy on board was great. Like the people there were hell-bent on fun. And the great majority, not in a sort of a mean or dumb way. And just sort of like, it's 4 days, we're here, we're going to do it up. And here's where we're at. I get it. I am more accustomed to ship within a ship, cruiser, where like I've been on the Haven, the Yacht Club, where you there's no place to hide on this ship. You're just in it. You're with the people. You're part of the people, and you're going to have fun. And I did have a lot of fun.
So you get back to New York. How was the debark process?
Oh, man. I have the stats for you. Now, because you and I know one another, I have an office in this area, like in Hell's Kitchen, which is on 54th between 9th and 10th.
Mm-hmm.
And Pier 88 is around 48th Street and essentially 12th Avenue. Out of my stateroom 841, and I was handling my own suitcase, I was off at 8:54 a.m. and I was back to my office in Hell's Kitchen at 9:11 a.m. But I walked there.
Wow.
It's the first time in my life that I ever went from cruise ship and walked to like my office or home. I loved it so much. It was crazy. I loved it.
Well, there you go. So any first-time tips to offer someone sailing Carnival Venezia or sailing out of New York?
My tips would be that go with the flow. If you have not done Carnival before, let the energy sort of seep into you and become part of the energy would be tip number one. Tip number two, if you can, have a terrazza suite in the back. The aft views are extraordinary. They're amazing. The comedy is very good. And give your fellow cruisers a chance to, express their energy. And you can do the same.
Looking back, what was the biggest highlight of this cruise for you?
My biggest highlight was for sure my balcony. I spent so much time out there. I believe that I'm pretty sure that at least on the deck 8 that I had a third of the stern. I sort of made that my own private world, especially like I, was in pretty early, but and in the morning watching the sunrise, like hanging out there, having breakfast or a nightcap, reading was really beautiful. The highlight for me was that it was just being in that stateroom at those times. I felt more with the sea than I have. This was my 19th cruise than any other cruise before. So that was my highlight, just being there.
How was the value for what you paid?
It's a great question. Amazing. I mean, really, really good. Compared to Norwegian or Royal or Disney, the only other lines I've done thus far, very, very, very good. I would say it was a total value.
Well, and in closing here, your final thoughts of Carnival Venezia.
If you have not carnivaled yet, try it. Just see what happens. Do what I did, a 4-night cruise. If you have any hesitation, just know that the people are nice. The food is really good, especially the grab and go. And give it a shot. It might not be for you, but you got to try everything once in this life.
Very good. Been talking with Daniel about his 4-night cruise, his very first Carnival Cruise Line cruise on Carnival Venezia out of New York City. Daniel, always a pleasure talking to you, my friend. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you so much.
Just back from a cruise? Let's talk about it. Email Doug at cruiseradio.net.
A big question we get at Cruise Radio is, how do I know if I need trip insurance? Simple answer. If you're getting on a plane, taking a road trip, or getting on a cruise ship, you need to have travel insurance. Hey, it's Doug Parker from my friends at tripinsurance.com. Not only does tripinsurance.com protect your vacation investment, but it also gives you peace of mind in case anything were to go wrong on your trip. How do they do it? They offer 3 different types of trip insurance policies. Good, better, and best. One policy for every vacation budget. But it doesn't just stop there. They're up to 40% lower when you shop around on other comparison sites. Plus, tripinsurance.com offers 24-hour customer support before, during, and after your trip, online claims assistance, and travel alerts to let you know what's going on at your destination. But find out for yourself. Check out tripinsurance.com.
All right, Dougie, let's see what we got for you, buddy. Cruise Radio is produced at the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. Get cruise news, ship reviews, and money-saving tips every Thursday on Cruise Radio. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show. If you want to help spread the word, give Cruise Radio a 5-star review. Find Cruise Radio where you listen to your favorite podcast or online at cruiseradio.net. I'm your announcer,